Yes, people. It's Jacob on the one up top. Before you watch this video, as I always ask for, remember to comment, share it out, like, share all of that, because it always helps the channel to move forward. As I've got to do that myself anyway, but I appreciate the love. But normally I do a before, middle, and after, but I thought I'd do a little bit before the game. The lineups are out in about 20 minutes or so, but yeah, I'll just, sitting there making some food for the kids, man, and putting roast dinner on. Pops up on my phone to say that a legend of football, and especially my club Tottenham, Terry Venables, has passed away. I don't know the guy from Adam, but when I saw that, a lot of thoughts went through my head, man, because Terry Venables is a guy that you don't realise how influential he was in terms of your support for football in general, until you think of Terry Venables. When I sat there and thought that when I was younger, and the days where I used to watch Tottenham, I didn't even know who Terry Venables was really, but he was part of a team that brought Gazza in and all that stuff. And even as a 6-7-year-old, I didn't really know what was going on. I'm sat there watching the football with my uncles and my dad. And even though they tried to get me to support Liverpool and Arsenal effectively, me watching Paul Gascoigne was the reason why I supported Tottenham. And Terry Venables was part of that era of football. But more importantly, I don't really support England now, but there was a time as a youngster, I loved England proper, and it was all started from, properly, Euro 96. I remember begging my dad to get me the full kit. I was a little 10-year-old walking around in a full kit, which you get criticised for now, but I wore that kit every day. Why? Because England, I supported them, and Terry Venables was the manager. And, England nearly won Euro 96 that year, and he made the country believe. So I remember watching a documentary not long ago about Terry Venables as a player as well. I didn't realise he was a good player as well. So, yeah. I just want to start off by saying RIP Terry Venables. He's a legend at our club, legend in football. One of the best English managers to be produced. We're not getting many good English managers these days. So, yeah, shout out to Terry Venables. And I hope that, the fans and the players especially, this gives everyone a kick up the backside, because today we've got a real test in Aston Villa. We've got a test in the next 4 weeks, so anything to give us a boost is welcomed. Obviously, you don't want the death of a legend, but you'd like to think that, we can all club together on a sad day like today, and that filters into the players. Because Aston Villa, granted their away form isn't great, but they're still a good team, man. They're a threat. I don't care who they play in this league. I think Aston Villa on their day can beat anybody, or at least give them a good game. I'll be honest with you, I don't feel too confident, just for the sheer fact of our centre-half pairing. Whether you put Emerson Royal, Ben Davies or Eric Dyer in there, if I'm honest, there are three worse defenders, and we're putting them in central areas. So the only way I see us getting a result is if the midfield absolutely boss Aston Villa's, which is going to be difficult in itself. They've got Douglas Luiz, McGinn in there. They're going to have Diaby in the lines. It's not looking good. I think the only way we probably beat Villa is by simply scoring more goals than them. But then again, I don't see how we do that, because we're not creating. Maddison isn't there. Basuma is somebody that can drive forward. He isn't there. Saar, Højbjerg, Lo Celso, we're hearing that he's going to get his chance today. I know he hasn't had a run of 10 games, but he hasn't had a run of 10 games because he hasn't been good enough. Not because we're being unfair on him or anything like that. So, you look at it and you think, Aston Villa did go to the Forest not long ago and not really put their foot on. I watched that game. They weren't great, but I think that was more to do with Nottingham Forest being solid and not really giving Villa the opportunity to use the pace in those areas to counter-attack. Whereas, Ange has always said, this is the way we're playing football. So Unai Emery's an astute coach. He's going to look at our team and think, well, if you keep pushing up, there's going to be a time where Ollie Watkins and Diaby break that offside trap and we're in. So it's going to be a tricky one. I think the only way we win today is by the crowd getting behind us or a couple of players surprising me, which they rarely do. And it's an opportunity for us to win, go level on points with City. And I'm not saying we're going to win the title, but it's one game at a time. You know, if we beat Aston Villa, it gives you a bit more encouragement going to the Etihad next week. And then we've got West Ham and Newcastle respectively after that. But if we lose this game, you're just going to go to City with your heads held low. And then you've got Newcastle and West Ham. It could be a 4 and a bounce. So I think this game's more important than people suggest, because I think for the players involved and the coach and the fans, a win today doesn't necessarily mean we're going to win the league by any stretch of the means, but at least it still puts us into the top 3 and, you know, stops the rut, because we've lost 2 on the spin. You go and lose 3 on the spin, you could be 4, 5, 6 on the spin, and then all of a sudden everybody's looking at us finishing 9th or 10th, which is what I predicted in the beginning of the season anyway. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. The lineups are due out in about 15 minutes. So I'll end it there. I'll come back in about 15 minutes and I will go through the lineups and give you all my prediction. Jacob on the one up top. Yes, people, it is lineup time. I honestly thought that I was going to be able to sit there in the kitchen, watching the game, win, lose or draw, and probably be a little bit stressed. Looking at the lineups, I'm going to end up burning the food, man. Like, I just don't get it. You know, I'm going to go to the lineups quite quickly. We've got, so if we go to the visitors first, with Aston Villa, they got Martinez in goal, Digne at left back, looks like Konza at right back, Douglas, Carlos and Torres in the middle of defence. They've got John McGinn towards the left of a 4 with Douglas, Luiz, Kamara and Cash at the right. And then Watkins and Diaby up front. From what I've seen of Villa, they're quite fluid with that. So it looks it's a 4-4-2 there, but then, you know, they can switch it up. McGinn can come in, Matty Cash can push forward onto the right. Diaby on the left, they're quite, it depends how the game's going for them. So, you know, when I look at Aston Villa, that's very solid. You know, the defence is one of the most solid in the league. Going forward, you know, Ollie Watkins and Diaby are banging goals for fun. You know, if you're an Aston Villa fan or someone that don't like Tottenham, basically, you'll be quite confident that Villa are going to come up and get a result. That was before you saw the lineups. Now I've just seen our ones again. Tottenham's, I don't even know what's going on here. I might be surprised, but I doubt it. So we got Vicario in goal, Pedro Porro right back, Adoji left back, Emerson Royal and Ben Davies as centre halves, Bentancur and Lo Celso centrally in midfield, with Kulusevski, it looks like to be the number 10. Brian Hill on the right, Johnson on the left, and Son up front. Don't know where to start. Oh, I know where to start. The centre halves, you know. Ben Davies and Emerson Royal are our 2 worst fullbacks. All of a sudden, we've got them playing out of position in the, you know, for me, arguably the most important position in football, because, you know, if your centre halves pairing is on point and you don't concede goals, you can't lose games, can you? And we've got them in there. I mean, Emerson Royal had a cameo against Chelsea where he looked solid enough, but he was in a position where we could do no wrong. You know, we were down to 9 men, 10 men. You know, whether he made a mistake or not, we'd all commend him for, you know, digging in. But when you've got a game like this, man, this is why I don't blame Ange too much, because the way we've gone into the transfer market, we was asking for this. You know, Eric Dyer clearly ain't good enough. Ange has made it quite clear that they don't think he's good enough. He gave him a chance against Wolves. Even when it didn't look that bad, the goals were kind of his fault. Ben Davies, you know, loyal servant. Is he good enough now? You know, for me, I think Ashley Phillips would have been chucked in today, but then he's injured. But, you know, when you're looking at those two, you think, you know what, cool, at least we've got a Højbjerg. You know, I'm not really a massive fan of Højbjerg, but one thing you can be assured with him is that he'll sit in front of the defence. We ain't got him in there. You know, we've got Bentancur and Lo Celso in there. When I'm looking at this lineup, it's dangerous, man. But I think Ange is pretty much saying, look, against Wolves, we tried to sit in, soak it up, didn't work. Maybe we've just got to go full throttle and see if we can score more goals than them. And that's what it looks like. Kulusevski coming in. I've had a lot of Spurs fans saying that he's capable of doing it because he likes to come inside anyway. But I'm yet to see him in there. But you never know. In a weird way, I want to see how it goes. I'm not saying I'm confident it's going to work, but Son, when I watched the Wolves game last week, he needed somebody in there just to connect with him. No one was really, Johnson was wide, Kulusevski was wide, and nothing centrally was connecting with him, and that's what he needs, especially with the absence of Maddison. Brian Gill, lightweight, he had a couple of good games under Conte, but again, hit like Lo Celso, I haven't really seen much, but I suppose this is an opportunity for the whole lot of them to just prove that they're in it for the dogfight, they're in it to win it, and they want to keep positions. There's players there like Lo Celso, Gil that I just mentioned, Emerson, Royal. There's an opportunity for you to keep your position because when Romero comes back, one of you's got to play in centre half with him. I just don't feel confident, man. Like, I weren't confident before. Now I just looked at a lineup. I'm like, the only chance we've got is if it's a 4-3 and we've just scored more goals than them. We're going to leak goals today. There's going to be a lot of goals. So if you're a neutral or not, it's going to be an enjoyable game. I think I still stick with my prediction in my head that we're going to lose this game. Just because the lads never gave me no confidence at the Wolves game last week. I went there, watched it live, and I just thought to myself, if we play like this against Aston Villa, we're in trouble, and we're pretty much playing Aston Villa without any centre halves whatsoever, like natural ones anyway. So again, I'm there to be shocked. I will go mad if we win, just because I'm expecting us to lose, but I don't see it. I think they're much more orchestrated, constructed sides. Emery's an astute coach. He's ex-Arsenal. Ollie Watkins and Diaby on form. Good defence. Can't see it, but I've got hope. God, Ange and the boys prove me wrong, and we can get this win for El Tel. I'll see you at half time. Yes, people. It's half time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Aston Villa 1. This is what I keep saying week in, week out, man. When you haven't got that core of defence, this is what happens because, in fairness, we've actually slapped Villa apart, but we didn't take our chances. And like I keep saying, when you look at this defence, you just know Villa ain't got to do much to score, man. They had the Ollie Watkins opportunity, which was ruled offside. And then Pau Torres with that. It's like, if you're Aston Villa, as long as Tottenham don't take their chances, we'll probably win this game without having to do anything, because as long as, set pieces is part of a game, free kicks is part of a game. You look at that free kick that they had just then. No Tottenham fan in their right mind would have thought anything's on there, but the delivery from Douglas Luiz was bang on. Ben Davies struggling. When I looked at the lineups, I thought one thing I didn't mention was the height, which was something that I was thinking about. The only person I saw that was in the lineup that I thought can clear headers or is sort of 6'1" plus was Bentancur, who's just come off, but he's not somebody that's an aerial threat. Our fullbacks are small, our keeper's relatively small, our centre halves, I think Emerson Royal is just about 6 foot. Lo Celso, Son, Kulusevski. You looked at it and thought Villa are gonna, if they get set pieces, of corners and stuff, it's gonna be a problem. Like Pau Torres is about 6'3". Like he must be having a laugh, and there's been opportunities where he's had as well in this half. So it was a concern of mine before the game, even though I didn't mention it, but it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Most of those players there, like if I look at our lineup, I think I'm taller than all of them, and I'm 6 foot. I don't think there's anyone there that I got to look up to. So yeah, it's a shame really, because we did start a lot better. If I'm going to be positive, we absolutely bossed them off the park. The energy was there. Kulusevski was looking wicked in the free roll. Brian Gill surprisingly done okay. I mean, there was a couple of times where he got the moans and groans, but I commend him for trying. Bentancur was killing it until he come off with that dirty challenge from Matty Cash. I don't know why he done that, but at the same time, we've seen challenges go in and out of players and they get up. With Bentancur, it's a bit different. But yeah, it is a shame. It's 1-1. I'm not going to sit there and say that we've lost the game, but I think the momentum's with Aston Villa because they're looking at this thinking we absolutely got played off the park and we're in the game. If it carries on like that and it's 1-1 and then 88th minute, Aston Villa get a corner. It's curtains, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't see us defending the corners very well. Not because of the awareness. It's just because the team's not big enough. If we're going to be conceding set pieces, I'd go as far as saying that it might be an option just to bring Eric Dyer on and do what we did with Conte and just go 3 at the back and have Eric Dyer on to win them headers. Because Eric Dyer against Pau Torres, I think he wins that. But going across the floor, I think in this half, if we had Eric Dyer instead of one of the other two, probably would have been a problem. But yeah, you got I'll give credit to the boys. I give credit to Villa as well because Villa were bad and they're still in the game. So good sides tend to do that, and Villa have done that. Emery, when you see celebration, full well that he knew that performance was under par. But they go into the second half. Probably with a momentum swing because this is what happened to us and we're starting to show tendencies that Man United do. Like as soon as something goes wrong or something goes right, so whether we get too excited or underexcited, we end up doing something stupid like conceding the goal and we nearly did under Watkins. So, I'm optimistic about the second half. Lo Celso's done well, but next goal's, it's obvious that the next goal is important, but I think if Aston Villa get the next goal, we won't come back from it. Whereas if we score the next one, we'll probably need another one just to rubber stamp it because, again, I don't trust this defence, man. Like, I'm quite confident that if I was on the pitch for 90 minutes with the defence we've got, I might get a little chance. So, let alone play people like Ollie Watkins. And Ollie Watkins is someone that generally scores the sort of second or third goal for Villa. Never really scores the first. So, he'll be chomping at the bit, especially him being an Arsenal fan growing up. We all know what's going to happen here, but I predicted 2-1 in my previous video. And mentally, looking at the game in its entirety, it don't look that way. But in my head, being a Spurs fan and being a football fan, that's what it looks like. So I'm hoping Tottenham prove me wrong. We move on to the second half. Yes, people. I need to stop doing predictions because I got it right again. It's full time. Tottenham 1, Aston Villa 2. Only this team, only this club can smack a team up and lose. But like I said it in the game prior. In the video prior that it doesn't matter what we do. We can play well, we can dominate the game, but then defence is the most important thing. It doesn't matter. If you score 4 goals, but your defence is capable of conceding 5, then don't really matter how many goals you score, innit? And if your defence is capable of not conceding, then you don't lose the game. It's as simple as that. And, when you look at it, man, it's like Emerson Royal. Did he really do anything wrong in the game? Nah. Did Ben Davies really do too much? The thing is, though, he was the reason why Pau Torres wasn't marked properly. But, we all know that he's not going to be a good defender. He's not a centre-half, man. Do you know what I mean? And it's not... You can't blame Ange because we've got no fit centre-halves left. And the one that we've got fit was surplus to requirements. You look at... The fullbacks actually did the right stuff. I think Adoji had a good game. Pedro Porro had a good game. Sometimes I still criticise his erraticness. There's times where he just does some weird things, man. And you think to yourself, you just need to relax, bruv. But in the round, he had a good game. Shane Bentancur had to come off. But it's just, when you're looking at it, man, there's a lot of Tottenham fans that... Not even Tottenham fans, football fans would have looked at that and thought, yeah, sweet, no problem. But from my perspective, I just look at the personnel. I look at the capabilities that they've got to mess it up. Do you know what I mean? It's like with the Ollie Watkins goal, that was a good goal, man, if I'm honest. But better centre halves deal with that, you know. Better midfielders deal with that. You know, I'd like to think if Basuma was playing in that game, that 1-2 is not allowed. Do you know what I mean? He makes sure that area is covered. But Højbjerg, good player, but it depends what you're trying to aim for. You know, if you're trying to establish yourself as a European side full stop and you don't care what levels of Europe, whether it be Europa League, Conference, or, you know, whatever, Højbjerg's all right. But if you're trying to reach the top echelons of football, you know, you go to Bayern Munich, you go to Real Madrid, you go to Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, even Man United. You know, no matter what, they're rich in history. So are they going to take Højbjerg? Do you know what I mean? It's like Højbjerg, Man United are struggling at the minute. And, you know, we say they're struggling. If they go and beat Everton right now, they're 2 points behind us. But apparently we're challenging for a title and they've had the worst start to their season. But somehow there's no match between the two of us. It's just one of those where it's weird. You know, to be honest, if we'd lost to Aston Villa and Aston Villa played us off the park, if Aston Villa did to us what we did to them today and won 2-1, I think they'll be less concerned because that's what I was expecting today anyway. The fact of the matter is, if we can play like that against, you know, a team that are thriving and lose the game, where do we go from here then? Because we're playing at our absolute peak, essentially, and losing games. You know, Wolves was a game that we played poorly, deserved to lose. Chelsea, for the first 20 minutes, absolutely dominating, lost the game. And it's becoming a reoccurring theme that, you know, everybody criticises Liverpool for conceding the first goal and dropping points, but they're literally looking like they could push for the title, whereas we look like we might not even push for Europe. You know, we need to, as I'm not going to speak for every other Spurs fan. I'm not even going to speak for any under pundit. I'm saying it for myself that I see a lot of people in the round that are just stupid. Like they see Emerson Royal and Ben Davies and genuinely think that we're going to go 90 minutes without them being capable for a goal. You know, Emerson Royal didn't make a mistake today. But the simple fact of the matter is he didn't seem like between the two of them who was controlling the line. You know, I've played centre defence before. You've got to have somebody that calls the line, but I just didn't see who was doing it. And even if they were doing it, they're not. You know, they're average defenders at best, and if they are average defenders, they're fullbacks. So we're in a massive decline. You know, I could see it from the minute that we lost to Chelsea. I thought, I wonder what's going to happen at Wolves. As soon as we lost to Wolves, I thought, I want the international break to go on for another month because we've got arguably a tough game against Aston Villa, which I knew we'd lose. We're going to play Man City, lose that. West Ham and Newcastle, you know, West Ham see that as their final and they're actually a good side now. And Newcastle are a top side as well. So just be prepared, Spurs fans. This is going to be a 7 on the bounce and you lot ain't even looking at it properly because we're not getting any of our creme de la creme players back. You know, Basuma's going to be back and Romero's back, but we'll play Man City and Romero gets sent off because we're losing 4-0. So, yep. You know, congratulations to Aston Villa fans. You know, I know so many. I work with them. I play football with them. Hats off to you because that's a perfect away performance. Soak up the pressure and get the winners. And you knew that realistically you're going to take your chances better than us. So hats off to Aston Villa. Look out for me in midweek because it's definitely going to be an Only Foolish and Tottenham video. Love. Jacob on the one up top.